This is module 2. This time we're going to finally delve into some games programming. Before you start, make sure you head over to monogame.net and download Monogame and install it into your Microsoft Visual Studio. I haven't got internet access, so I've just switched that off for now, but it's easy enough to find. Once it's installed, you should have something that looks like this. Okay, just quickly look at the slides of the things I'm going to look at over this module. So, the whole point of this module is we're going to be producing a working space shooter game. That's going to be the guide that we're going to use to go step by step to produce a project. The reason why I've chosen to do this as well is it's the first kind of game that I learned to make as well. I'm going to introduce what Monogame is and what the content pipeline is, and then work with classes in game development. That should be development. So, lesson 1, we'll be creating a project. What do we look at? The content pipeline, and then the 5 different stages in Monogame. Okay, so in Visual Studio, we create a new project just like we do. We have done before, and in Monogame, we're going to create a Monogame Windows project. Okay, so what is Monogame? Many years ago, Microsoft had created XNA. And XNA was a framework that was created to access DirectX and create games using that framework. It was an excellent template for games programming, and it really did help cover the fundamentals of games programming before you start playing with engines and things like that. It uses DirectX, so as long as you've got DirectX installed, you shouldn't have any bother with this. It can also be used to create Android projects as well, but for today, we're just going to look at a Windows game project. Okay, so my solution name, I don't really think it matters this time. I'll tell you what, let's do it anyway. I'm just going to call this one Module 2, and I'm going to call the project Space Shooter. Okay, it's going to take a couple of seconds to load up. And I want to draw your attention over to the right hand side of the Solution Explorer before we move on. We have the project Space Shooter, then the properties, references. I'm going to sneeze, hang on. It's going to pass. I'm not even going to sneeze. Great, I didn't even sneeze. Okay. And next we have this content folder. Inside the content folder there is a program which contains a content file which is used for Monogame. So if I double click that, a window will pop up in a second. There it is there. So in the Monogame content pipeline, this is the project. This is a program here called the Monogame content pipeline, and here we can use this to add pictures or text files or whatever. Usually, I think we're just going to work with pictures today, but that'll be fine. So we have file, open, and new. Not anything in particular, but a lot of my students have issues where they can't find the content program. Open up the content file, which you'll find inside your project, inside your solution, inside your project, inside content, and then it is there, content.mg.cb. Right, open that one up, and add pictures. We go to edit, add existing item, and we add pictures into there from your pictures folder or whatever. I'm not going to add pictures yet. I just want to highlight that, which we'll come back to later. It's okay to close that, but you will need to save it if you make any changes. First, let's look at the program.cs. In there, it has a main method just like it's supposed to, static void main. But it runs a new instance of a class that already exists called game1, and then it does game.run. Okay. Which means we need to look at what game1 is. So here is the main crux of it all. I want to zoom out a little bit. On the top here, it has 3 different using directives, different frameworks. We have the XNA framework here, then the graphics from the framework and input from the framework. So graphics will be used to draw pictures, we'll come to that later, and the input which will obviously be controls. Okay, I'm going to talk through all of these different things. You might not even understand them as I explain them. Even by the end of the video you might not understand them, but that is okay, because you'll probably find it better covering it as we go. Let's break it down. So here's the constructor, which we've seen before, and it contains it initializes the graphics object, which is the graphics device manager, and it finds the file location of the content project, which is in the solution on the right hand side. We also have this sprite batch object called sprite batch from the sprite batch class. Come back to that soon. Okay, so when you press start, what it'll do is it'll run Initialise first. It'll do whatever we tell it to do inside Initialise. After that comes loadcontent. That'll run next. So the idea with this one is, in here we'll start adding our sprites and load them into the game from here. That's what we usually do that for. Then unloadcontent will be used for cleaning up any of the content items that we don't need anymore, but we'll never use that in this project, so let's just ignore that. Next is where our game logic goes in. So this is where our physics-based stuff, our math, stuff like that happens in here, in this update. So what happens is every frame, every time that you go, your game ticks, it'll do whatever happens in here. And lastly, we have draw. So draw will draw all of the sprites on screen as the project goes on. Okay, so that is what all of those 5 different things are. So what have we done so far? We've created a project, we've looked at the content pipeline, we've initialized load content, unload content, update, and draw. Okay, let's look at the time. I tell you what, that is quite a short session, but that's okay. We'll just stop there, just very briefly talk about what we're looking at, how we need to set up a project, what's inside here, and next we are going to dive straight in with creating a sprite class.